or Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. My name is Fon Quinter. The news starts now. The Social Democratic Front political party has celebrated its 32nd anniversary. The national president of the party, Nsah, in a climate of appeasement and remobilization, awarded distinctions to some activists who have distinguished themselves during its 32 years of existence. Cynthia Azanu has details.
The 32 years anniversary of the Social Democratic Front Party, SDF, is an opportunity for its founder and his activists to make a festive break on the 26th of May 2022. The downtime allows the chairman, Nsah, and his activists to access the progress made and to make commitments to the future.
I want to briefly quote the national chairman in his anniversary speech. Which was a speech of political responsibility. He stated that 32 years ago, we SDF militants took the engagement, the responsibility, to build a Cameroon that puts the human being at the center, to build a society that honors our different identities, that celebrates our diversity, and that bequeaths to other generations, institutions that are deeply rooted in the spirit of mutual acceptance, the rule of law, and of course, the pursuit of a collective destiny and purpose.
The SDF marked the political scene in Cameroon, created on the 26th of May 1990 in Bamenda. The party has made various achievements and are geared to future achievements.
Achievements in the electoral process. It all started with MINAT, but today we are at the LECAM. We now talk biometrics, even though it is not complete. But we are still pushing forward. But most importantly, what is important to the SDF is preparing to take over power and really make Cameroon what it wants it to be in the best interest of Cameroonians. And that's, of course, a federal dispensation, which we believe is a better place to unite Cameroonians around a common purpose. That purpose is building a country that guarantees equal opportunity, that makes sure that the resources of the country are equally distributed, and that all Cameroonians are happy irrespective of which identity they hold. The balance sheet, though not satisfactory as we would have wanted it, is of course very good, because 32 years after, we're talking about a lot of freedoms today. The media and Cameroonians are more free than it was 32 years before now. We have been able to start up the fight against corruption. What we have, Operation Epevier, in our country today, it is the struggle of the SDF.
Since 2016, the party has been weakened due to the insecurity in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, where it had more vigor. The SDF still has 5 deputies in the National Assembly after the legislative elections of February 2020. It should be noted that Nsah, its president, was the main challenger of Paul Boya, president of the Republic and founding president of Cameroon People's Democratic Movement Party, CPDM.
In the southwest region, the mayor of the Boya municipality has said houses constructed on the road will be demolished in the days ahead. Mayor Mafani Namange was speaking this morning during an early morning field work to solve the problem of traffic in the town of Boya. Our southwest correspondent Emmanuel C. completes the story.
One open feeder road, so I'm going to drive through join this road. So next week we can break even house them.
The Boya Council has this morning been busy mapping out roads in order to ease the circulation of vehicles and persons in the city of Boya.
He knows that he has to break. We have informed him. Then he comes and takes rent from a lady 2 weeks ago. It means that we are just clowning.
Today, agents of the council's town planning and municipal police, led by the mayor and his deputy, have embarked on opening more roads to beat traffic jam in town. The warning was sent to shop owners and makeshift business sites this morning who have built on the road. The tenants are left to call their landlords and send the message, as the mayor Mafani Namange Exquare says the days ahead will be matched with action.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to explain to my lovable people of Boya this is in continuation of our action to fight against urban disorder. In this area, you have realized that in Boya, traffic has become a matter of total problem, moving from one point to another due to congestion, and these are roads which were normally in existence years ago, and because of the huge demand of housing and commercial areas, some people have moved into the roads in Modiko, so we have to just re-establish those roads. So we came today to inform them once more.
Makes meaning to recall here that the problem of traffic jam in Boya has been on the rise as the population has massively increased, caused by the Anglophone crisis.
As the world gets more and more complex as the days go by, creative minds are skimming across the board to make ends meet. The multinational life of Ngambo Apollinaire is an example to enable many Cameroonians delve into multiple streams of income. Dolingonde tells us how he copes as a business person, a civil servant and a farmer. Her report.
For versatile human beings, and one of such persons is Ngambo Apollinaire, a civil servant, businessman and a farmer. How he manages to be top on his game is point of focus today. Seated in his living room is a young teacher correcting examination scripts of his lower and upper set students. A teacher of geography and history, Apollinaire was among the first batch of graduates from the Higher Teachers Training College in Maroua, working at Government High School, Yambuya, who now tells his story and motivation. I am a history and geography teacher who graduated from ENS Maroua in the year 2012, and I've been working for 10 years now. In effect, I've worked in at least 4 regions of Cameroon, and I realized that the field of teaching is not sufficient to meet up with what I can call a monthly salary. Fortunately, I was posted to work in my village, and as you can see, I am in my business office called Dubai Center, where we've been able to employ more than 5 persons because we have 3 structures. Going by his timetable, Mr. Ngambo works on Mondays and Thursdays in school. Thus, this permits him to execute his chief executive roles properly for the rest of the week, as he adds. I am a very big lover of agriculture, and as you can see, we have been able to realize this plantain plantation, coffee, cabbage, and lots more, and we plant at least 3 times a year. Talking about his business center, Apollinaire tends to employ more of youths, and some of them have expressed gratitude towards their boss. It is from here that we feed, and aside that, we are short of our end-of-month wages, and even during our training, he used to pay us 50,000 francs to enable our learning process and also to foot in other bills. The young teacher is just 37 years of age and is calling on his peers to follow suit with his example. I am calling on many Cameroonians to be multitasked, as this would enable them live the lives of their dreams rather than depending entirely on one source of income. As a polyvalent youth, Ngambo Apollinaire is here to set the pace for many aspiring Cameroonians who hope to be like him someday.
Now, the number of cholera cases in Cameroon continue to rise on a daily basis, with 7 regions being affected, according to health officials. Since the beginning of May 2022, there have been 244 new cases and 8 reported deaths. More on this with Nsah.
Cameroon is among several countries in West and Central Africa experiencing recurrent cholera outbreaks between 29th October 2021 and 30th April 2022, with a total of 6,652 suspected cases, including 134 deaths. Several risk factors have been attributed to the ongoing cholera outbreak in Cameroon, including wide circulation of Vibrio cholera in the country, limited access to safe drinking water in some areas badly hit by the epidemic, as well as seasonal pattern of cholera occurrence and inadequate wash hand conditions. Note that the regions affected include the Southwest, Littoral, South, Center, Grand North, and now West in the month of May. On Tuesday, May 24th, at least 5 cases were registered from the previous week in the West, and the region declared in epidemic by the governor, and from that moment, intervention started to prevent the disease from spreading, according to the regional delegate of health for the West, Dr. Shinmun Dauda. Moreover, 19 more cases have been registered in the Mifi, no deaths yet, but out of the 20 health districts of the West, just one, which is the Mifi, is affected, with 7 areas marked as red zones. It is worth mentioning that the consequences of a humanitarian crisis such as disruption of water and sanitation systems and the displacement of populations to inadequate and overcrowded camps can increase the risk of cholera transmission should the bacteria be present or introduced. For the record, as of April 30, 2022, out of the 6,652 suspected cases, the Southwest registered 4,617 cases, 77 deaths, Littoral 1,704 cases, 51 deaths, South 183 cases, 2 deaths, Central 125 cases, 4 deaths, North 15 cases, no death, and Far North 8 cases, no death. However, according to the regional delegate of public health for the center, since the beginning of May, there have been 244 new cases reported and 8 deaths, while the number of health districts involved have increased from 18 to 21.
We have, in collaboration with the Human Rights Commission for Refugees, have distributed startup kits to some 20 gender-based violence survivors in Menchum Division of the Northwest region aimed at reducing gender-based violence. Our Northwest correspondent Charles Akeba completes the story.
Gender-based violence, GBV, is a grave human rights violation that causes long-term and life-threatening injury and trauma to victims stroke survivors.
We identified more than 200 GBV survivors, young girls who have experienced abuse and they have been put on the family way without their consent.
Thursday, May 26, 2022 at the Womb Town Hall, strengthening community response against gender-based violence and prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse in some communities in Womb Central, Bafmen, and Benakuma in Menchum Division of the Northwest region. The UNCHR Refugee Agency and BHAV distributed startup kits to some 20 GBV female survivors in the following trades: embryo, tailoring, and hairdressing.
It is because of it's not just because of their vulnerability, it is partly because it is our mission, it is in our vision to support and give assistance to deserving young people in the communities. And because they showed the interest, because it is one thing to be a vulnerable person, and it's also one thing for you to accept that you are ready to make a difference and make a change.
Handing over the start-up kits aimed at reducing gender-based violence and prevention of sexual exploitation, BHAV CEO Bibiana Mbe Epus Drambong insisted trauma is a crime. She called for advocacy and change of mentality, said the donation offered to the survivors will mitigate the suffering, build peace, and a social and cohesive community.
Poverty, community development, self-employment, and the advancement of our society according to the Sustainable Development Goals 1, 2, and 3. Not forgetting the fact that we are living in the context of war, where there are a lot of vulnerabilities. We believe that this will go a long way to mitigate the suffering, it will go a long way to build peace and a social and cohesive community.
With the sustainable support not temporal, the beneficiaries were cautioned to know they will always be monitored to see they put to use the support. Mentum First Assistant STO, Demanu Fabrice, representing administration, thanked behalf and her partners, pray for more to revamp the division in all aspects. For 3 days, some think tank women from 3 subdivisions in the division were equally trailed on human rights violation that caused long-term and life-threatening injury and trauma to victims / survivors. The UNHCR, UN Refugee Agency, and BEHAF thrives to fight against GBV in conflict-affected zones and to create a safe and healthy community for all.
The managing director of My Media Prime Television, Leonard, has offered awards of excellence to 10 students selected from journalism clubs of his alma maters, Government High School and Government Bilingual High School Wum, Menchum Division of the Northwest Region Joingong, has details.
It only takes a grateful heart to remember and give back to his roots. Mr. Leonard, one-time senior prefect of Government High School and Government Bilingual High School Wum, and member of the journalism clubs of both institutions during his school days, has offered excellence awards of 10,000 francs each, plus certificates of appreciation to deserving students of the journalism clubs of his alma maters. Today, a journalist of reference and integrity, Leonard brought up this initiative in order to inspire and encourage the students who intend to pursue a career in journalism. To the 10 students, 5 from each of the institutions respectively, it is total excitement, a dream come true, and just the encouragement they need to forge ahead.
We are very happy. We really want to appreciate. We were not expecting this, so we are very happy.
Thank you for the gift, because it is what can encourage other people to still be journalists and can be future journalists of Cameroon.
It has been a dream since to be a journalist, so I'm very happy and had this today. It has made me to become more encouraging.
I really appreciate this thing. I should continue in this thing so I can encourage some of us that are coming up to also be like him.
It's a really dream come true. Since when I was in primary school, that was my dream to become a journalist, and I really want to be like him. I'm really thankful and grateful, and I wish one day I become a journalist like him.
The Excellence Award ceremony was graced by the Divisional Officer of Wum Central. He applauded the Excellence Awards initiative, stating that it will go a long way to boost the efforts of the students.
It's really a laudable initiative that we have sons and daughters, of course, and especially Mr. Leonard for remembering his population. And as an ex-student of this institution, very important institution, for him to prepare something for the student, because it is an academic booster, it is an academic incentive. It's going to a long way to encourage them, to encourage even others to put more effort, as far as bookwork is concerned.
The school authorities expressed gratitude on behalf of the students while calling on other ex-students to follow suit.
To look at your neighbor and say you can give a helping hand is very important. Leonard passed through this school.
The managing director of My Media Prime, Mr. Leonard, whom I happen to know, and here represented by Mr. Akeba, also a journalist. And we wish to express our sincere gratitude to him, and to let him know that if he has his other peers, other ex-students of this school, they can in one way or the other help the other students of the other clubs.
Leonard, award-winning journalist and managing director of My Media Prime Television, Douala, Cameroon, promises to do more awards of this nature in subsequent years.
You're welcome back. Now, Cameroon Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Mbarobi, has announced a partnership with the National Observatory of Climate Change. Under this framework, both parties will collect and analyze climate and weather data across the territory and make them available to farmers to boost agricultural productivity in the country. Cynthia Azanu with details.
According to the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Mbairobe, this strategy will help acquire the necessary tools to better identify climate variations and come up with solutions to boost agricultural yields in the country. Such an experiment had already been conducted in the cocoa-coffee sector a few years ago by researchers from the Institute of Agricultural Research for Development, IRAD. The initiative was launched by the Cocoa Coffee Interprofessional Association to know what to do in the face of climate fluctuations. According to one of the researchers, these include hotter weather, longer drought episodes, irregular rainfall, and greater parasite pressure in plantations. The data will also be useful in the case of cocoa and coffee trees that flower earlier than expected and whose flowers fall off suddenly. Cocoa and coffee trees that seem to be dying from heat, a considerable drop in production. To reverse this trend and ensure good yields for producers, IRAD researchers had initiated work to develop varieties of cocoa and coffee plants better adapted to climate change. Agriculture is the mainstay of Cameroon's economy, engaging an estimated 70% of the economical active population and accounting for an estimated 80% of the primary sector's contribution to the country's gross domestic product.
Now, Cameroon and Gabon have pledged to find possible solutions to all border problems, including threats and attacks. This was during the just-ended trans-border security meeting chaired by Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Athanyanji, in Yaoundé. Get details with Mwanze Njoyogo.
A 3-day talk between Cameroon and Gabon has taken place in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. This trans-border security meeting, which is led by Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Athanyanji, and Gabon's Minister of State, Minister of Interior, Lambert Noel Mata, centers on solving the high crime wave in Cameroon and Gabon's borders. The thick forest in these borders encourages the illegal traffic of drugs and weapons, the illicit exploitation of mineral resources and forests, illegal immigration, and the looting of persons plying this stretch of road. To act, both parties during these talks called for joint military operations so as to share experiences and information on issues along these borders. They equally agreed on the need to design a roadmap which will demarcate the borderline between Cameroon and Gabon. What's bearing in mind that Gabon in 2019 closed its borders with Cameroon due to a failed coup attempt by some armed men to take over power from Ali Bongo, and the two countries share a border of 230 and 298 kilometers. Both parties ended the session with the signing of documents to signal the end of the 3 days discussion between both parties.
The military corps in Limbe southwest region of Cameroon has been called to be focused on their duty to defend the nation and refrain from all acts of indiscipline. The call was made by the head of the Limbe military garrison as they gathered recently to share a common meal. Kuma Onore completes the story.
The military corps in Limbe has been called upon to be more focused towards their duty to defend the nation and refrain from acts of indiscipline that can be counterproductive to their service. This call was made by the head of the Limbe military garrison, who doubles as the commander of the Limbe naval base, Colonel Eliu Menge Marcel. He was speaking to the members of the Limbe military garrison recently as they gathered to share a common meal offered by the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense to all members of the defense corps in Limbe, commonly referred in French as repas de corps.
Alors, l'occasion qui nous réunit ici est le repas de corps offert par.
The event that has brought us here today is a meal for the military, commonly called repas de corps, that has been offered by the minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense. For the military personnel of the Limbe garrison, I do hereby transmit the utmost appreciation of our military hierarchy to you, all beginning with the minister delegate in charge of defense, the army chief of staff, the army in charge of marines, the army chief of staff in charge of the air force, the commander of the 2nd military region, and all other within that corps. They have asked me to extend their deepest appreciation to you all for all the services you have thus rendered in the defense of our nation. The commander used the occasion to esteem words of gratitude and congratulation from the minister delegate in charge of defense and the military hierarchy to all the soldiers for their valiant services rendered in defense of the nation to ensure that peace, protection of territorial borders are maintained, as well as the participation of the 50th anniversary of the National Day celebrations with the theme Defense and Security Forces at the service of the people in preserving social peace and national cohesion, a guarantee for an emerging Cameroon. He equally used the occasion to salute soldiers for their brilliant and selfless sacrifices offered during the January AFCON Games, the ongoing socio-political crisis, amongst others, while thanking them on behalf of the head of state. The commander of the military garrison urged the soldiers to be disciplined and avoid the consumption of hard drugs that can instead jeopardize their work as soldiers. The solidarity meal brought together the senior divisional officer for FACO, local administrative authorities, as well as other senior military officers of the defense force.
Just coming in, the CEO of Grass to Grace humanitarian organization Thomas A. Fortang announces the launch of an event called the Big Earth Honors 2022 Earth Edition to take place on October 8 here in Douala under the theme Celebrating Love and Excellence. The event is designed to recognize and celebrate the strength, endurance, and longevity in service of neglected people doing extraordinary things in our community, including road cleaners, gate men, farmers, mortuary attendants, amongst others. Awards, trophies, and cash prizes will be given to those honored to boost their capital. We've come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television. Coming up just after the news is Prime Hour with Leonard and his team. My name is Fon Quinter. Good night.